The following video was intended to be posted on July the 14th, 2024. However, several factors complicated this upload date, including ADHD, old person new technology syndrome, and an especially dense news weekend cycle, which triggered the ADHD, which in turn inflamed the old person new technology syndrome. This entity would like to state, on the record, that ADHD is not an excuse for a failure to complete a project, and Doc Sirius did not manage his time well. Give the old man a break. We'll gladly stop yelling at the television. Yours truly, Stripper, Sirius Technologies Robotic Interface Personal Receptionist.
Thank you for that, Stripper. And welcome to the first episode of Serious About Comics. I am Doc Sirius, and I'm here to talk serious about comics. Now, in honor of today, July 14th, 2024, my 50th birthday, I'd like to go back to the day of my birth, July 14, 1974, and see what comics I might have been able to buy on the day of my birth, and pick one and see what occurs with a character or a writer or an artist as the years progress through my 50 years. Now, in order to do this, I've invented the back issue spinner rack time machine seen here. Now, what the back issue spinner rack time machine does is wait, there's supposed to be, I'm supposed to have a picture here. Okay, a picture of the spinner rack time machine. Let me put you on pause while I try and find out what's going on. Hi, yes, this is Doc Sirius. I need the graphics department. Yes, I'm working on episode 1, and I'm supposed to have an image of the back issue spinner rack time machine. No, I don't have that image. I'm sure I don't have that image. Oh, you don't have that image either. Why don't you have the image? Because the art department hasn't gotten it back to you. All right, well then, can you transfer me to the art department? Ah, yes, this is Doc Sirius. Doc Sirius, the man in charge. I'm Doc Sirius. I'm the guy in charge of everything. I'm Doc Sirius. Yes, I'm serious. Okay, I called the graphics department looking for my image of the back issue spinner rack time machine, and they told me to call the art department. So what happened to my image of the back issue spinner rack time machine? What do you mean you didn't know you had to know how to do art? Why would you sign up for a job called head of the art department? You thought it was the fart department. What would that job, you know what? I don't even want to know what you thought that job entailed. So what did you think when you got a request for an image of the back issue spinner rack time machine? Oh, you actually had a thought and decided to outsource it. All right, can you put me in? So what happened when you outsourced the project? Okay, they were glad to do it. So what happened? They said the request got lost in their spam folder. So I don't have an image of the back issue spinner rack time machine. All right, thanks a lot. We're going to have to do some changes around here. So I don't have a picture of the back issue spinner rack time machine, but I can tell you what's going to be happening. With the back issue spinner rack time machine, I plug in a date, in this case July 14, 1974. I then set the parameters for what I'm looking for from comics on that date. Like, I don't want any issues that are nothing but reprints. So I love the X-Men, but I won't be getting an X-Men from 1974 because they were only doing reprints at that time. No Marvel triple action, that kind of thing. I will allow it to pick out comics that have reprinted material, as long as it also has some new stories in it as well. In the parameters, I'll also tell it that I want a nice selection of comics to choose from to get an idea of what the comic market was like in 1974, and so that I have a lot of options to pick from. So I'm going to tell it to give me 3 Marvel titles, 3 DC titles, and 3 independent comic titles, so that I have a nice general idea of what comics were like back then and have a nice selection to choose from. Once these back issue spinner rack time machine pulls out the comics for me to choose, I will pick one, we'll look through it to see what's going on, and then I'll pick a character or a writer or an artist or some element of that title, and then see how that character or writer, what they're doing, what that element, how it's progressing every 10 years for the 50 years of my life. So, let's see what the back issue spinner rack time machine chooses for us this month. The first comic brought to me by the back issue spinner rack time machine is DC Comics Action Comics number 439, coming from around July 14, 1974. Here we can see Superman getting knocked out of the water, and the caption, "Meet an explosive new foe for Superman, too big to live." Now the spinner rack time machine tells me that this issue is one of those where they did a crossover with characters that they don't own, so they did homages, with a character named Captain Strong being a reference to Popeye, Olivia being olive oil, and our enemy Too Big to Live is a reference to Luto. Next, from Marvel Comics, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 137, with Spider-Man crashing through the window, trying to stop Green Goblin from blowing to bits Aunt May, Mary Jane, and Flash Thompson. Our next title for July 14, 1974 is Detective Comics number 442, featuring, of course, Batman, with the story Death Flies the Haunted Skies. Now, interestingly enough, this story was reprinted in 1988 in a trade paperback called The Greatest Batman Stories Ever Told. So, apparently this was a well-regarded story. Our first comic from the indie scene is Warren Magazine's Super Special Super Giant Eerie number 60. The Manhunters search the stars for the captive of deadly man-eating aliens. Well, I've seen enough hentai. Also, we have Plus Exterminator 1. He was created half man, half machine for one purpose: to kill. Huh. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Get out.
Our next title from the Spinner Rack Time Machine is Ghost Rider number 8, Beware, Inferno Strikes the Devil's Disciple, with this demon, one-eyed demon looking down as Ghost Rider seems to be riding around punching people in the face. Our third and final title from Marvel is Giant Size Defenders number 2, From Hell It Came to Seek Out the Son of Satan. Looking back at our indie circuit from July 1974, we have Charlton Comics' The Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves, with a story called The Possessor. This is number 46. So this series has been around for a while at that time, but I have never heard of this series. According to the back issue Spinner Rack Time Machine, the Dr. Graves in question is one Dr. M.T. Graves. Dr. M.T. Graves, get it? Now that's some Tales from the Crypt level punnage, but also I like the title, Many Ghosts of Dr. graves. That sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon.
The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Our last indie title from circa July 14, 1974 comes from Gold Key Comics' Turok, Son of Stone, number 92. The cover tells us that Turok gambles his life so that a cave tribe won't perish. Our final selection of titles from circa July 14, 1974 comes from DC, their superheroine number 1, Wonder Woman, and her issue number 213, where she's being just manhandled by all kinds of people, and she's trying to save some woman in a house being lifted by what my sources call a giant cybernaut. Not just a robot, a cybernaut. Meanwhile, Barry Allen, the Flash, is in there holding what I can only assume is a panel from inside the comic telling us that it's not just this family that's freaked out, but the whole world. Now my question is, Barry, why are you there? Barry, why are you acting like you're a narrator for this story? You have your own title. Barry, go back to your title, buddy. Now, when looking at all these titles from around my birthday that I could have picked up from the store, one of the things I noticed is the heavy horror presence. Now, this was due to the fact that in, 1971, the Comics Code Authority lightened up their restrictions on the horror genre in comics, and comics could go back to using actual monsters rather than coming up with clever tricks. Clever tricks such as people dressing up like goblins and having living vampires. Instead, they could use literal monsters. And I know that at this time, Marvel was having a heyday with their monster titles. Now, in this selection, we have a lot of great options. We have Superman and a pseudo crossover with Popeye. We have a Batman story that's considered one of the greatest Batman stories ever told, at least according to a collection. We have Ghost Rider and Devil's Disciples. We have demons coming after the son of Satan. We have a giant cybernaut and the Flash telling the story. A lot of great titles here. But I think for this month, we're going to go with Center Square, Ghost Rider, and Inferno, and the Devil's Disciple. So, turning our attention to Ghost Rider Volume 2, Number 8, this cover is brought to us by Gil Kane and Dan Crespi. And then we turn to our splash page with Satan saying, "Your fate is sealed, for this time you face Satan himself." Also on this page, we see that the credits are very coolly made just a part of the splash page art and not a separate box. Here we can see that this story is brought to us by Tony Isabella with pencils by Jim Mooney, inker Sal Trapani, the colorist Phil Rachelson, and letterer John Costanza, with our old buddy Roy Thomas editing. So as we move on in the story, Satan says, "Nah man, I'm serious, I'm taking your soul." And Johnny Blaze says, "Bump this, I'm out of here, dude." Now, if you're wondering about this motorcycle that Johnny's driving, noticing that it's not his usual wheels, well, that's because these belong to a character named Stuntmaster. Now, Stuntmaster first appeared in Daredevil, and he kind of bounced around back and forth between Ghost Rider and Daredevil, but I don't think this guy really made it out of the 70s. So back to Ghost Rider number 8. Why, you wonder, does Satan not just take Johnny Blaze back to hell? Well, that's because of the love of Roxanne Simpson. Wait. Are you telling me that Ghost Rider could have ended in issue 8 and faded into obscurity had it not been for the true love of Roxanne Simpson? Ghost Rider was saved by true love. Does that make him a Disney princess? Well, Disney princess or not, Satan's frustrated he can't get Johnny Blaze. So he goes to his demon Slifer and, pulling the total manager routine, says, "Why am I dealing with Ghost Rider? He's supposed to be your responsibility." And Slifer's like, "It's not my fault. I gotta work through all these humans and they keep screwing it up." And Satan says, "Word, bet. Let me give you some power so you can take care of this yourself." We then get another splash page with Slifer in his power-up form, Inferno, the Fearmonger. Nipples! What I like about our one-eyed demon... What? Get your mind out of the gutter, you pervs. What I like about Inferno is that while he's a demon by the name Inferno, but he doesn't use fire. I mean, who would want to fight fire with fire?
In places, being a firefighter actually means starting fires.
No, Inferno doesn't manipulate fire, he manipulates fear. Specifically, the fight fear. Not the flight, cowering in the corner fear. He manipulates our fear of things so that we want to fight them. So, Inferno's a politician. We don't see the end to that battle between Ghost Rider and Inferno in this issue. They will continue in Ghost Rider number 9. So let's jump ahead 10 years to July 1984 and see what's going on with Johnny Blaze then. If you're thinking not a lot, you're right, because Johnny Blaze and Zarathos got separated in 1983 in Ghost Rider number 81. So Ghost Rider's gone for a while, but he is mentioned near the end of 1984 in Avengers number 250. Written by Roger Stern and drawn by Al Milgrom, we see Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, getting a Zoom call from Tigra, reassuring her about her lack of confidence after an encounter with one of Maelstrom's minions, Phobius, recounting her encounter with Ghost Rider, where, after being burned by his hellfire, she was a bit freaked out. Jumping ahead another 10 years, we find Johnny Blaze without the Spirit of Vengeance, without Zarathos, riding around on a hellfire bike and using a hellfire shotgun to deal with any demonic issues that he still encounters despite no longer being bonded with a demon. This issue, brought to us by Larry Hama and Henry Martinez, features one of my absolute favorite characters, Man-Thing, as well as one of my absolute favorite criminal teams, the Circus of Crime. They're only there as a cameo as we see Princess Python join with Blaze's Quentin Carnival, but we do get to see Ringmaster ever so briefly, although he's looking a little, well, on the outs. Well, that's great for Johnny Blaze, but what about Ghost Rider, I hear you asking? Well, we'll see him in July 1994's Ghost Rider Volume 3, number 53. This issue was brought to us by Howard Mackey and Salvador LaRocca, and in it we find the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, who was all the hot news back in the day, facing off against a demonic being known as Blackout.
Blackout, you fool!
No, I said the demonic entity Blackout, not the Transformer Blackout.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we're getting closer, but this isn't the demonic entity Blackout. This is Marcus Daniels, the Avengers villain Blackout, who is empowered by the Dark Force. Again, we need the demonic entity Blackout. There it is. There's our demonic entity Blackout as drawn by Salvador LaRocca on Ghost Rider number 53 splash page. But before we go any further, can we take a moment to recognize how every single one of these Blackout characters have the Riz? Isn't that how it's being said these days? Having the Riz, on fleek, all that, and a bag of chips? Tight, zooly, kickin', groovy, hip, splendacious. This is one set of characters with a shared name that are the cat's pajamas with bee's knees. Anyway, moving on to July 2004, looks like Ghost Rider made absolutely no appearances or was even mentioned in all of 2004. Moving on to July 14, 2014, we have Johnny Blaze showing back up as Ghost Rider again in Thunderbolts Volume 2, number 28. This issue is brought to us with pencils from Gerardo Sandoval and writing from Ben Acker and Ben Blacker. Is this not a joke? Okay. In this issue, Frank Castle, the Punisher, is coming back to try and get revenge for someone trying to kill him when Frank leaves the Thunderbolts team. But can we take a moment to recognize this salacious cover with the leader's bodacious brain basket right there on the cover? Don't shoot, Frank. That magnificent melon must be cherished. But also in July of 2014, we have another Ghost Rider. That's Robbie Reyes as the all-new Ghost Rider, appearing in issue number 5, where he comes up against Mr. Hyde. Robbie's a little bit different from our traditional Ghost Riders. He drives a car. He doesn't get his powers from Zarathos. This issue was brought to us by Felipe Smith and Trad Moore. So what's going on with Ghost Rider in July 2024? Well, a lot. Johnny Blaze finished his 10th Ghost Rider volume at the end of 2023, and then shortly thereafter gets a new series, Ghost Rider Final Vengeance, where Parker Robbins, the criminal known as the Hood, becomes the newest Ghost Rider. Another Ghost Rider related character can be seen in Helverine number 3, where we see the X-Men character Akihiro, who's also known as Daken or Fang, or one of the many Wolverines. He's been returned to life by a demon called Bagra Ghoul and given very Ghost Rider-esque appearance and powers. And finally, we can see Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch Ghost Rider as a member of the Midnight Suns in Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 3, dealing with Blade and all his vampire shenanigans. There you have it. 50 years of Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze, including Danny Ketch, Robbie Reyes, Parker Robbins, and Helverine. So what do you think? Who is your favorite form of the Ghost Rider concept? And what do you think about our first episode of Serious About Comics? Maybe give us a like if it's not the worst thing you've seen today. It's a little early for a subscribe, but here's hoping. So you tell me, you want to see some more bodacious brain baskets? Or you want to see blackouts ranked by Riz? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, remember, I'm serious.